So, if you remember last week, we had the topic of what is the motor of our life, and especially love being the motor of our life. Going towards that, you can have many different motors. When we say motors, like things that motivate us, that push us, that help us to live, that gives us the strength to live, and different things. So we arrived, like hopefully, at the point last week of that we want love to be our motor. We want it to have it driving our life, and we especially were praying a bit with. I don't know if you remember Jacob spending 29 years working for. Sorry, not 29 years. 7 years working for the possibility to marry Rachel. A very long time, and even actually he got given Leah first, and then he worked for another 7 years for Rachel. And then we were also talking about what the first part of this passage of 1 Corinthians 13, where it was more talking about without love, we're nothing. Like we can do many, many things, but without love, it's actually no good. It doesn't do anything good for us. So we're going to go, I thought the natural question to follow on from that is, what is love then? Okay, if we want that as your motor of your life, very good. But what love are we talking about? So better than just like what is love? I think most of us probably have different ideas about what love is, but what type of love are we going to talk about as being the central part of our life? And I remember being in my philosophy class, one of my first philosophy classes, our teacher asked us that. And I was in with a whole heap of students it was in Ateneo in the Philippines. It's in with a whole heap of secular students, so not just priests and nuns or anything like that. So I was asking them, what is love? And all of them were saying many different answers. So one of them said, it's feeling. Another one said, it's like being attracted to another person. So there's an element of not even being able to choose maybe who we're loving or who we find we love. Another one said it's all about desire, like all about who you want to be next to, who you want to be with in different ways. And then another one quoted the Pope John Paul II, who said it's a decision. It's a decision for the good of the other person about how we live. It's not just simply that you got no control over it, but you decide to do something and to act and to live in the best way that helps another person. It's for the good of another person. I thought we'll go through and have a little bit of, like at the beginning, talk a little bit about what are some different ideas about love, and go to this passage. And the passage that we used for that song and that we'll be using for tonight is 1 Corinthians 13. It's a very common passage when it talks about love. I've done 4 weddings, like as an officiating priest, and every single time they chose this as the first reading, everyone like talked about what is love, and it talks about a good description about love as well too. So it's nice to have that like it is a bit well known, but it's nice to go a bit deeper, especially when we go into it, about what it might mean. And I was thinking that there's a few different things that we could focus on. One is reading some like secular things about love. Some people say that love, there's 2 types of love. One is more like, how would you say, erotic love or romantic love. And then the other one is more like companionship love or relationship love. Obviously, there's a lot of connection between all of them. But one of them is writing a bit of a paper about this, and he was saying that, he or she, I can't remember who wrote it, to tell you the truth, but they were saying that normally with romantic love, as time goes on, it sort of dies down. Whereas with companionship love, relationship love, with time, it normally grows stronger, grows deeper, gets more depth. It's interesting. So it's sort of like many times when people talk about love, they talk about maybe just romantic love, and they don't really think about all the different elements that it could mean, and especially focus maybe just simply on attraction and those kind of things, rather than on building on something deeper, on building a relationship and trying to have that at the center of any type of thing that we try and love or how we try and love. In the traditional theological stuff, I won't go too deep into it, but for example, there's a very good book by C.S. Lewis, the one who wrote the one about Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and all those ones. He wrote one about the 4 different types of biblical love. And it wasn't new to him. Like he was building on the things that's been all the way through it. And he was talking about in the Greek language, especially the ancient Greek language that the Bible was written in, most of the New Testament, a lot of the Old Testament as well. There's more or less four different words used for love.
Eros.
So one, yep, so, I don't know who that was, but one is storge, or STORGE, and it talks about the type of love that's built upon being around people that you can't even really choose. Like it's more like one of the main styles of that love is the love between a mother or parents and their child, or belonging to a group. That's where you're built. If you feel a love for Australia, or I don't know what you might feel. So it's like more connected with your circumstance. So there's something there that's already there. So you have that natural care and attention and affection. So he used to use more as affection as the word that he uses, C.S. Lewis. But he was sort of saying it's more this type of love that's built upon a relationship that is a pre-existing sort of relationship. Second type of love is Philia, or he was talking about in the Greek they use Philia, and it's, for example, the city Philadelphia is named after it actually, and they call it the city of brotherly love. So Philia is normally the type of love that you have between the people that you're close to, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, close friends. So it's more a friendship love. So of course, on that sort of level, it's a bit deeper in some way. You could say the other one's more deeper. You know, the love you have between family can be deeper because you're connected by something not even about likes or dislikes. But then also on friendship love, it can be deeper in some sense because you choose for it a bit more. You find people that you connect to, you find people that you like, and then you love them because of that in a different way. So philia is one type. The third sort of type of love is eros in the Greek. So it's connected more with the erotic sort of thing, and that can give a bad connotation, but it means more the romantic love type of love where you really want to be near someone, like you care, you're attracted to them, you want to be with them, and it's more goes beyond, you're saying more romantic love. We probably have all experienced it in some way, shape, or form, and it is very powerful. But it is to a certain extent different from friendship, because it's normally involves more passion or more, I don't know, more things that to do with your physical side of it as well too, and different things. But then also it can be a lot more complicated, you could say as well too, because all the ups and downs you get with it, the way you get heartbroken and all the different things, that hurts sometimes more than friendship. So sometimes you would say that friendship hurts more than when you get betrayed in a friendship than romantic love. I don't know. It's all, everyone has different ideas or different feelings about it. But there's different styles. And then the last love that you find in the word that's used for in the Bible is what they call agape, which is the love connected with God. So it's the universal love, type of love that's completely self-giving. You would say a bit more perfect, a bit more real, goes beyond everything. So it's less connected with all the feelings and everything that go with it and all that kind of stuff. So they're like the four types, and all are important and valid. So that part's important when you talk about love. Like when people try to neglect one of those aspects, it's not good actually. You're repressing something that's real and natural as well too. But C.S. Lewis, in his book, but also in general, like I said, he's basically paraphrasing what many Christians have said all the way through many parts of history. When agape isn't the driving force or the driving love, the one that orientates everything else, these other types of love become a little bit distorted, and they can become a little bit like false gods or false idols that can ruin or can hurt your life in different ways. So if you haven't got this pure, more pure love, like the love of God at the center driving everything, and you know that, like friendships can get broken and can get twisted, and you become more about using people and different things because you put friendship at so high that you've actually put it higher than the love of everyone else and of everything else, and become selfish. The same as erotic love, like when you talk about romantic love, we know ourselves, like look at the society around us where the romantic love has been pulled out of context, to be honest, and it has its consequences from that as well. And the same with family love and stuff too. If it comes so strong that it hinders people's growth and stuff like that as well too, that can be problematic as well too. But when it's put within the idea of the agape love, the love that we receive and experience and understand from God, then it gets into its proper place and it makes everything right. So I was thinking about how we can pray with this deeper understanding of love, like try and keep on going deeper with it. It's to use these verses from 1 Corinthians 13. Maybe with someone, we can have a few people read out the different verses. So we're looking more just from verses 4 to 13. So do I have a volunteer that would like to read maybe verses 4 to 8? Anyone? Maybe online might be the best because we can hear. Okay, Jane. Thanks, Jane.
So it's 13, 4 to 8, right?
Yes.
Love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
One more.
Love never ends, but as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end.
I really like these verses. There's so much in them, actually. When you go deeper and deeper into it, there's so many different aspects of love that get covered in different ways. And obviously it talks about, it's more like this description. So no one part of this is a complete understanding of love. And maybe this whole description doesn't capture everything, but it's a very nice description that lets us really deepen upon what do we understand about love. Now I want to go on to the next verses. We go to verses 9 to 13. So if you have someone to read that out as well too, another volunteer.
You can do that, Father. Oh.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Edna. Yep, I know Grace put her hand up as well too. So maybe we'll just go.
Grace,
Edna, you do 9 and 10, and then Grace can do 11 on.
Okay. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Very good. And continue through, Grace.
From 12?
Yep, from 12.
Now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror, but then we will see everything with perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love.
I love this part at the end of it. Sometimes I was tempted just to only focus on the description of love, but then I really got caught a lot by this part at the end where it's talking about don't fall into the trap of thinking you already know what love is. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you're already, I don't know, you don't need to go deeper into different understandings. Because it's very clear about this. It's saying that some things are like an inexhaustible source of contemplation, of deepening your knowledge and your experience, your understanding. So as I was saying, like we only know things in truth, partly in truth, not all of it. And that's why we need to keep on praying and keep on trying to understand it in a different way. Especially when it talks about like we've got that little part of it. It can be like a child, like the understanding and the experiences that we have as a child need to change and grow when we change and grow. We can't stay with our understanding of love, for example, that we've had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, sometimes some of us even more than that. And it's not right that you're your experience only stays the same. If we grow, everything sort of has to grow with it. And that's why I really find this fascinating, where sometimes it says we only see things like in a mirror, like a puzzle, a riddle. And then with more and more time, we get to see a little bit more. But then obviously we're moving towards a part of perfection, especially Christians. We're talking about that we go on a path of perfection to try and, when we say perfection, it's getting closer and closer to God, getting closer and closer to becoming saints. And I don't know whether any of you are saints yet. I don't know. You can all decide that yourself, but I know myself, I'm still on the way. And I found that really comforting, sort of this part of, don't be afraid to go to these same topics again and again, not to get bored or not to get, I don't know, not to not learn anything new either, but just to go deeper and to try and understand everything in a new light. God will keep on showing us more as we go closer, as we get closer to him. And you yourself know, I was thinking about that, like a lot of you are parents. You have a deeper understanding of certain things for your kids. And you know that you don't give everything to your kids straight away. You take time with them, and when they're ready for it, then you start to show more of it. Then when they're ready a bit more, and then you walk with them little by little. And God does that with us. And it's important that we don't stay stunted in our growth. We don't stay with what we already got, but we go deeper with it. And especially when we're talking about charity or love, because it's so deep, actually, especially because it's what we believe. It's the pure essence of God himself. So the more we go into it, the more we understand him, the more we understand us, the more we go into what life's all about. So let's try and pray with God's word and allow it to speak to us. And so we can start to understand, what it's saying to us today as well. I really like this part of what we often try to develop here in our School of the Word, is to pray in this way where we take a passage, we ask it, what's the meaning for me? What's the meaning behind it? What's the main message behind it? Then go, okay, what does that mean for me? How am I trying to apply that? And then what does it mean for me now? What is this message that I'm trying to work out for my own experience, my own circumstances? Could be for a certain relationship just right now. It could be for a certain person that you're being around with. It could be for your own certain work or whatever that you're living. Always there's a new element coming into your life. And that's why we're consistently applying it in different ways. And God wants to keep on speaking to us and applying it in different ways. That's what we call this assimilation. And then it's so important that we try and find out practical ways where we can live it out and work it, and let that relationship with Jesus grow in new and exciting ways, and that we come closer and closer to what they are calling perfection, what we're going closer to what it means to be a true follower of Jesus, a true Christian, a saint, in the sense that a saint's not someone who doesn't sin, but a saint's someone who lives as close as they can in union with God. And as we know, we'll experience that in a deeper way in heaven. And here on earth, we will never get the fullness of it, but we do get tastes of it. And that's why the moments when we feel this real connection with our faith and our love and our God is when we really start to connect in a way that's deeper than we were before. So I thought, let's go through, and with your time of prayer, I won't speak that much more, but go through and look at all of those aspects that it's been given there. Love is always patient and kind. Find one that jumps out at you first. So there's so many different ones. Love is never jealous. Love is not boastful or conceited. Love is never rude or never seeks its own advantage. I'm using a different version, so some of you might have different how do you say, way of saying it. Love does not take offense or store up grievances. Love does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but finds its joy in the truth. Love is always ready to make allowances. Love trusts. Love hopes. Love endures whatever comes. Love never comes to an end. And if there are prophecies, they'll they will be done away with. If there's tongues, they will fall silent. And if knowledge, it will be done away with. But love endures. Right, like for me, I was fascinated a little bit this afternoon to go into a few of these ones. Find the one that speaks, and it doesn't have to be one. Like we're going to have a time of prayer now. Like we normally give it about 20 minutes. If you go through them all, fantastic. But if you only go through one, fantastic, where you deepen on all the elements that you can about that. I was caught a little bit this afternoon about the jealous part. Love is never jealous. So I started to be there in a time of prayer going, surely God, isn't love meant to be a little bit jealous sometimes? For example, if you have a spouse, don't you get jealous if that spouse spends all its time with someone else? Or doesn't, like that part is meant to be there. I don't know, we have Barbara and Paul here. If one of the other one was with, and I'm not even talking about another person, if they have their own pastime with their hobby or something like that, it no longer seem to neglect you a little bit. Isn't that normal and right that you have that part in there or something? But I was praying with that, like in the different ways. Like, what does that mean for you? And then is envy and jealousy the same thing? I don't know if you thought about that or prayed about that or even looked it up. Envy, for example, is meant to be about when you want something you don't already have. And jealousy is actually about when you've got something and you're scared someone's going to take it away or they're going to ruin it in some way. So you get jealous of things that you've already got and you're jealous that other people are apparently taking it away from you. Envy is more that you're looking at the other person, they've got something that you want and you really want it. And that makes you unhappy, actually, even instead of being happy for them. So like there's that different sort of, so we often use the interchangeable words, but it's actually a little bit of a difference. And then what does that mean in terms of love? And all the different ways of love, like we're not just talking about romantic love, I'm talking all the different ways, the agape, the Philia, or the storge. And then at the deepest level, when I was praying about, especially about the jealousy one, it really caught my attention a lot that in the end, it's all about like selfishness. Oh, for me anyway, when I was praying about it, about treating someone or something as a possession. That's when you start to get jealous. That's when, for me anyway, that's like I said, this is my own sort of prayer this afternoon, because it can happen about really good things. So, for example, sometimes I get a bit jealous. I don't know whether this is the right way to say it or whether I even should talk about this or whatever, but I can get jealous when I find out that people have a really good experience at another parish or another group. You know how stupid that is? Like, I should be actually really, really glad that everyone's found God in this moment and stuff like that. You can sort of have that jealousy where you go, I wish that was with me or with our group here or what they're doing here. And it can be like a serious thing that comes in where you somehow aren't happy for someone getting close to God. You know how weird that is? Like sitting in there, that's not right. That shouldn't be right in my, so it's interesting, like whatever your jealousies might be far different from mine in different ways, but it's funny, like what will come through when you start to pray and you try to apply it and you say, okay, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for our things? We have Father Dan's just coming in now. He was doing a memorial mass up the other end. So I wasn't jealous for him for that. It was okay. So it's nice. Like pray about what aspect catches your attention. That was just one I was saying, but there's so many of these ones have so many parts to it. Let it fascinate you a little bit. Let it try and catch your attention and try and work out what is it that it's saying to you about your own life, and hopefully it will give you a change or give you a way to live it out. And not that we always have to convert or have a part of saying, oh, I've done something wrong, but sometimes it can be this strengthening of your understanding about certain things that come through. You really go, oh, wow, I hadn't really thought about that or I hadn't understood it in that same way, but I really want to in this way. So let's pray. So the idea is that we'll give you 20 minutes now and take that passage, stay with it, don't go off too bad. And then when I was putting here, I'll put the questions into the chat. The main questions was, carefully go through the description of love found in 1 Corinthians 13. What aspects jump out at you? What does that mean for your life? Try and apply it in a real way to your relationships and faith. How do you need to change so that you live with a better version of love driving your life? So there's many sort of questions that maybe might help you to start that conversation with God and spend that time talking to him, trying to deepen about it, let it talk to you in your own life. The second question I put there is more about praying with the 1 Corinthians, the second part, the 9 to 13. How has your knowledge and experience of love evolved? changed compared to when you were a bit younger. And maybe that's a nice thing to go through a little bit as well too, if you get a little bit caught with the first one. And pray with that about, because I think we all have a different experience as we go along. So I'll put that into the chat and I'll stop recording now and we can have this time of prayer. We'll come back around at 8:30, 8:35 around there.